There's a black professor who is tries to do classes to like help people understand black men a little bit better. He tries to do classes to make sure black men get to know themselves better or whatever the case may be, so they can be better for their direct counterparts. But he's been noticing that only Caucasian women come to the classes to learn how to balance their relationship better with black men. So I find this really, really interesting. As of like, our own women don't want to go to these classes, but the opposite race goes to these classes to learn black men better. And then a lot of black women are upset that black dudes are dating white girls. So this is kind of interesting to see what he's been going through.
I heard you say one of your initial classes, one of the first classes you had, or earlier classes you had, you noticed that it was predominantly non-black women who were going in there studying black men.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mentioned that on a panel with Obsidian and Kevin Samuels.
Okay.
And I didn't know where that was going to go. Next thing I know, people were calling me because Kevin was saying it on some other show. But that went through stages. So I've been teaching now for about 24 years, and I came to Fresno State about 14 years ago. And I started teaching a black male course because it was needed. I'm looking at these young brothers who were getting accepted, and a lot of them were, dropping out. A lot of them really didn't have any support structure on how to navigate college. They were having, even the conversations I was listening to in the hallways, I was like, okay, if I don't grab some of these young men, they're not only going to be out of here, they might even be arbitrarily locked up behind things some of them don't understand. So I created this class alongside a student group for black males, and began to implement that. And early on, what I found was I had more black women than men, which, numerically is no surprise. That tends to be the case anyway, as far as the enrollment in school. But I started to get fewer and fewer men and more women, because my initial training in my doctorate was as a feminist. I hadn't dealt with gender prior to my doctorate. So one of my primary mentors was ex-Black Panther. She was a feminist. And so I came in with that framework. The only way I knew how to deal with gender was through kind of what she taught me. So I'm teaching this black male class using this approach I got in grad school. And I'm watching the numbers of black males dwindle. I'm seeing the black males in my class looking at the ground, just kind of disconnected. And I'm seeing the women more and more excited. And what I realized was that it was becoming a class where the young ladies were using me to finger wag at the men on the campus to kind of nudge them to do what they wanted them to do. So when I started to actually ask the men what their perspectives were, and I started to kind of change the narrative, it was a learning process for me as well as for them. And after a couple of years, I noticed the women stopped coming. The number of black women dropped dramatically. The number of black males started to increase. And then after that, within the next couple of years after that, I noticed I started to get this population of white women.
Yeah.
I didn't know why they were there. I didn't know why they were there. And when I began to kind of ask them, in the hallways under the, why are you taking this class? You have to be careful how you do it. And I started to find, well, my boyfriend is black, and I want to understand him and his family, or I'm trying to date some of the men on the basketball team or football team or whatever, but I don't understand them. So they were doing research. They're getting A's.
Yeah, very smart, very smart.
It's a weird thing where I got to give A+ to white women in a class on black males because they are handling all the homework assignments and reading everything to a T. They're asking me about the citations that were made by the author. I'm like, good Lord. But they were serious. They were doing research, and they were serious about it. And I would say, another 3 or 4 years after that, I noticed the population shifted from, white women to Latinas. And the Latinas were coming in with the same kind of intensity, the same kind of questions, the same motivation. They were dating black men. And this is Fresno. We're in Central California.
Yeah. No.
Black and Latino relationships here are not a strange thing by any measure. So, yeah.
Well, and again, go back to your early, because I said, this is kind of what this conversation was born out of, this whole topic of grabbing your passport and SYSBMs and the controversy behind that. And it's like, you're literally telling me that you had a class that was dedicated to black men, where black women have an opportunity to study their men, understand what they're going through, understand how to relate to them better. And instead of us doing that, You have other women of other ethnic groups, other races going in, taking notes, using the quote unquote best men out there. Yeah. So it's like, how can you compete with that? This is based upon what you just said. It's like, this is why they are winning our men. If that is such a big complaint, this is why these other women, white women, Latinas, Asians, this is why they are winning or stealing, however you want to put it, our men, because they're actually interested in their interest. Like I said, it goes back to, when I asked you a few minutes ago, I was like, why are black men asking for so little? And then you go in to say, well, they're kind of used to that. They're socialized for that. There's all these complicated dynamics. And if you meet some.
Okay. I've seen, and I actually went to an all-white school, like as a kid. So I got to like really, really experience like the dynamics of like going to an all-black school versus like going to an all-white school where like, you're like the minority literally, where it's like all your black friends and some of them who are like mulatto can like sit at one lunch table, and then versus going to an all black school where like you see like the white kids sitting at their own lunch table. But like I've been noticing that sometimes like black girls don't care to learn their counterparts because they feel like they should have these things already brought to them. So it's kind of like when a black girl gets pregnant, if I do this, like you automatically should be able to do these things for me. You're going to the NBA. I want a one-way ticket just because I'm cute and bring sex to the table. You automatically should view me as the prize because black women were taught that their vagina rules everything. But in all actuality, like these other races realize like having a strong man in their life, no matter what race it is, but the idea that you want to study a man, period, is just a good thing. It sucks that it's not coming from our own culture and our own race, which makes it very, very strange. I was like, why black women don't want to learn their black men? But a lot of us struggle with not knowing our history at all. A lot of black people do not know their history. They don't really know where they come from. So to tell a woman, hey, I want to study a man, that is literally like, are you fucking kidding me? Why would I waste time doing that? Because we spent so many years demoralizing our black men that it's almost like there's no point in me studying a man. He should just want to be with me because I'm cute. That's just what it is. And then when they start this whole passport bros movement, they start judging dudes for going out the country and then dating other races, et cetera, et cetera. But like, these are the reasons why. So when you see as a prime example that he's saying he started a class to learn your counterpart and you don't come to the class to learn your counterpart and other races do, how can you be mad? Now, my only problem with that is when you start to have too many, and this goes for white dudes too, like even white dudes who date black girls. I always say like, you're better off sticking with your race because when you don't, after a while, your bloodline starts to die out. Because when you start having mixed race kids, whether you're white, whether you're Asian, your bloodline starts to die out anyway. And you spent all these years and years building something. Now you can literally go generations and literally become so far removed away from who you originally are, your original nationality. So I think it's very important for a lot of us to know who we are as a whole. So there was an author named Shahrazad Ali who wrote a book called The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. I think that book can help any man out there just deal with women, period. Because we all have generational traumas that we are unaware of, that we literally go through. But I just find this super, super interesting that we could literally have a foundation to get to know each other, and women don't want to show up, but then another race can come through and want to start scooping up these black dudes. This is in California. So whatever school they're at is kind of like, it's not like this is the South, but this is actually fascinating that another race wanted to come learn about black men more than their own race did and wanted to learn how to love them better, treat them better, to make them fall in love. That is just absolutely insane. And that's why the narrative has become get you a snow bunny for a lot of like the black dudes, because look at a prime example of how much work they put in to get to know their men better. Meanwhile, there's dudes in regular life who got shit going on that still get treated like shit from their own counterparts just because it's cool to do. It's cool to treat dudes like shit. But I found that very interesting. Let me know your thoughts about that, man.